Does your furry friend take over your bed every night? It's time to reclaim your space while giving them the comfort they deserve with the coldest, cozy dog bed. Don't wait. Check out the link in the video description to buy now on Amazon.
Ruth Westheimer, a sex therapist known as Dr. Ruth, who was renowned for her frankness and fronted her own eponymous TV talk show, has died aged 96. In the 1980s, her TV series The Dr. Ruth Show was attracting millions of viewers, with hundreds of thousands of people tuning in to watch it at night when it aired. Her radio call-in show Sexually Speaking began in 1980 and lasted for a decade, and she also wrote 45 books on sex and sexuality. The news of Westheimer's death was confirmed by her publicist Pierre Lehoux, who co-authored books with her. She was restful when she passed away. Her son and daughter were with her and holding her hand at that moment, Lehoux told People in a statement. It was as peacefully as she could possibly go. She was 96. No cause of death has been given. Lehoux continued, It's amazing, there was stuff still going on in her life and someone wants to make a biopic about her. Born in Germany in 1928 as Carola Ruth Siegel, Westheimer grew up in a Jewish household and the only child of her parents, who worked as a housekeeper and a notions wholesaler. After Westheimer's father was sent to the Dachau concentration camp by the Nazis, her mother and grandmother sent her to Switzerland for her safety, where she stayed at an orphanage. Both of her parents were killed during the Holocaust. When she was a teenager, she emigrated to British-controlled Mandatory Palestine, where she trained as a sniper in the Israeli military. On her 20th birthday, she severely wounded her feet in action and spent several months in recovery. She went on to move to France, studying psychology at the University of Paris, before later moving to New York in her late 20s. She gained U.S. citizenship in 1965. Having trained as a sex therapist in 1980, when she was 52 years old, Westheimer launched her radio show Sexually Speaking, which accumulated 250,000 listeners in just 1 year. The successful radio program continued for a decade. In the mid-1980s, she also began presenting various TV programs for Lifetime, which resulted in the creation of the Dr. Ruth Show. Westheimer was married 3 times, including to fellow Holocaust survivor Manfred Fred Westheimer. They were married for 36 years from 1961 until his death in 1997. She had 2 children, a daughter called Miriam Yael Westheimer and a son called Joel Westheimer. Tributes have poured in for Westheimer following her death, with film and TV journalist Randy Jones writing on X. Many older people might have known Dr. Ruth Westheimer as the coolest, sex-positive baddie ever, but my generation knew her as Dr. Ruth Westheimer on Between the Lions. She challenged the media's views of sex and was so wise and sweet. Rip icon Broken Heart. Legendary fitness guru Richard Simmons dead aged 76. Stephen King leads tributes to the shining star Shelley Duvall after death aged 75. BBC Radio 2 DJ Steve Wright's cause of death revealed. Alf Child star Benji Gregory dies aged 46. Actress Marlee Matlin shared, she was honest, she was funny, and she was smart. Best of all, she was the nicest. May her memory be a blessing to her family and all who had the pleasure of knowing her. R.I.P. Dr. Ruth Westheimer. Pensive face red heart love you gesture light skin tone. RuPaul's Drag Race star Ross Matthews added, I got to interview Dr. Ruth in February 2023. She was hilarious, sharp, specific. Here she is telling me exactly what to ask her during the interview. Obvi, I did as instructed. Game changer. Grateful I got to meet her. She passed yesterday at 96 years old. Bravo, Doctor. Hashtag Dr. Ruth. What I rent. At 23 years old, I live in A#2, 450 PCM, London, flat in Zone 1. The vibrant London borough where rents are falling the fastest. Landlords are imposing an utterly ridiculous rule on tenants, but it's perfectly legal. I rented a room to a nice woman, then an armed gunman showed up. Mum transforms rented council house into Brat's shrine, despite threat of £7,000 fine. Film critic Courtney Howard also posted, Dr. Ruth Westheimer was a pioneer, taking the stigma out of talking about sex. Letterman had her on in 1982 to answer audience questions, which turned into an insightful look at how she approached giving advice.